Hey guys, Gil here, rocketfishing.com. Welcome to my channel and Promar Ahi USA. I just want to go through gearing, guys, with you for this year's upcoming lobster season. Yes, if you're watching this video, lobster season is upon us. And you're probably visiting this video because you want to make sure that your gear is in the greatest shape as possible. What I'm going to do with you guys today is I'm going to go over my gear and what I do to get ready for the season coming up, so stay tuned. Hey guys, if you attended any of my seminars, either at Turner's, Bass Pro Shop, read any material that I put out there, whether it's a blog, a Western Outdoor News article, or a podcast, the most important thing that people ask me, or the most important question people ask me, is about regulations. Now, regulations change from year to year, so make sure that you're caught up to date on the regulations for that particular year. Last year is going to be different than this year, and so on and so forth. The most important thing when it does come to regulations is you do need a lobster card to go lobster hooping. So make sure that you have a lobster card in possession when you go lobster hooping. As far as the regulations and as far as time of day, go IDs, number of hoops, all those things, etc., 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 please visit the Department of Fish and Game and make sure that you're caught up on this year's regulations. All right, guys, let's talk about hoop nets. Over the years, I've been super blessed to be part of the Promar Ahi USA Pro Staff Ambassador, and we have a slew of nets, guys, there at promarahi.com. So please visit after this video, visit promarahi.com for any accessories, any hoop nets that you need. We'll link that in the video as well. But the number one thing that I want to check my hoop net, whether it's a 32, a 36 ambush, or a lay flat net, any type of net that you have for hooping, you want to make sure that the netting is in great shape. If you've hooped this net before, which I have, some of your nets you've used for several seasons, and these nets get stuck, guys. Lots of times they get stuck, and you all know sometimes you get a net stuck, they twist, they bend, but not only do they bend, they fray as well. And so we're going to kind of go over inspecting the net. So what I like to do is first, I like to get the net flat on the ground, make sure that it's flat, and I like to inspect everything around the net. Now, this particular net I grabbed for a reason because it does have a fray, and we're gonna kind of zoom up on it a little bit later and show you the fray. When you're inspecting the net, just inspect the whole net, make sure the pouch is good, and make sure that all the connections here on the hoop net are not ripped. This is something that we're looking for in the hoop net. You see this fraying right here? This is what we want to make sure that we stay away from. We're going to take a zip tie and tie it together, or if we have several frays, this particular hoop net doesn't have several frays, it just has one fray. We want to think about purchasing a new hoop net. It's not worth your while to start zip tying this thing all over if you have multiple frays. Now remember, lobster like to back into the net. Okay, like to back into the net. Now, if any of the nets here are frayed, it's going to be a fail point in your net. So after you're done inspecting the whole net and you have decided whether you're either going to zip tie or purchase a new net, if you do decide that you're just going to zip tie, make sure you continue on with the rest of the net with the bridle and the float, and make sure that the roping on the system is not frayed as well or ripped in any way. All right, guys, the second thing that I want to do as we kind of go through our gear is our floats and our rope systems. As you all know, I like to do a extension cord winder system. Some of you guys have different systems, and that's fine, that's okay. We're just talking in particular what I do here to get ready for the season. Now, this is one of my older floats. As you can tell, the paint is off of it, the numbers are coming apart with the tape. These are reflective numbers for mailboxes, and remember, I like to use these numbers because whether my light stick goes out, which we're going to talk later, you can actually see the float with the flashlight. So we want to make sure these reflective stickers are intact, okay? And our reflective tape, and again, our reflective tape you can get at promarahi.com. Again, you can order that for the season. I kind of want to show you guys what I do as far as getting ready for the season. This is when I stripped down. I just started to paint it. I actually painted over the numbers. I will end up peeling these numbers off and putting a new set of numbers on. And for those of you who don't really want to paint, I really highly encourage there at Promarahi. Again, on our site, we have different color floats. As you know, pink is the new black. And this is my new float. I have no spray paint needed. I have my Go ID on it. I have my phone number, my name on it, just in case it gets lost. Brand new numbers on here. This is the number, my number 1 float with brand new reflective stickers on it. Also the rope, guys, this is one of my older ropes from my older season. And as you can tell, it's still in great shape. I've actually fished this particular rope for about 10 plus years, and it's in still amazing shape. This is a 75-foot rope from Promar, and I have my link at the end of it. This quick link here, stainless steel. Make sure that all of them are in great shape. The great thing about these quick links here is they hold about 900 pounds of pull strength, and they seize up sometimes a little bit of WD-40. You'll be in great shape. But make sure that all your reflection tape is good to go. Also, on all my rigs I talk about in my seminars, I have all my ropes zip tied at 5 to 10 feet. That way I can unwind that footage on my boat or my kayak before I throw the hoop net over. For instance, if I'm hooping in 45 feet, 35 feet, I can actually unwind that footage on the water, on top of the water, before I actually throw the net over. So make sure that your rope is in great condition and that you are ready to go for the lobster season. When inspecting the ropes, this is something I like to look for in my rope. I want to make sure that everything is smooth, and this rope's in pretty good shape, but you want to look for the fraying. Okay, you can see some fraying on here on this rope. You want to make sure the fibers aren't deeply cut, and you want to make sure the rope has not lost any integrity. Super important. Like I said before, I've had this rope for a very, very long time. I take really good care of it. I store it away in the wintertime or the summertime, and it's held up really, really well for me. All right, guys, let's talk about batteries now and things that use batteries. Headlamps, flashers, such as these, if you're on a kayak or a small boat. Electrical things of bow lights and stern lights and all those things. We're gonna have to wrap them all up together. Over the years, I've learned that, first of all, they drive me crazy because I always forget every season to take them out. Batteries, that is. I've gone actually over to lithium batteries for headlamps for a few reasons. One, they're a lot brighter, and two, they remind me more to take them out of the actual device at the end of the day, especially at the end of the season. If you don't take them out, what's going to happen is, this is a perfect example. If you want to come in, this is a flasher, and as you can see, the salt water absolutely destroyed it. And not just the salt water, it's just these things aren't meant for water. Another thing, these are batteries that were in a headlamp. As you can see, these are like Duracell batteries that are in a headlamp from lobster season. You see the acid just kind of completely blew them up. So if you guys are using a headlamp such as this is a Pelican headlamp, make sure that when you open it up, that the batteries are fresh. Now, if you still have fresh batteries and the acid hasn't eaten them out, I would definitely take the batteries out. I would take a wire brush and wire brush everything, put new batteries in it, and make sure that the light works. Same thing for your flashers. Make sure all your flashers work. As you can tell, this is one of my flashers for my kayak, and it's working right there perfectly. You do not want to get on the water and assume that your headlamp or your flasher, because those are your safety devices, are working. That turns out when you open it up, it's completely acetized from the batteries. So make sure you run through all your stuff, and especially if you're on a small boat or a kayak and you do have lights that are hooked up to a battery that take either LED lights or regular lights, make sure that those lights are working prior to going hooping. It's every year when I get to the landing on the lobster opener, people are working on their boats. And it's kind of crazy because they're still working on their boats as of 8 o'clock that night, and they never leave the dock because none of the maintenance of their boats are done to go lobster hooping. So make sure that all your safety lights work, your headlamps work, your flashers work, and also your light sticks for your floats. And right here at Promahe, again, we have these on our site. These are the battery operated ones. Some people love them, some people hate them. I personally love them, and the reason why I love them is because they have 3 settings on there. They have a flash setting, a solid setting, and if they don't work, there's actually a glow in the dark setting. Now, every battery pack, brand new, comes with extra batteries. Now for me, I like to store them in a case just like this. And if you've been to any of my seminars, I store them in here. I actually have another separate compartment the ones that are acting up throughout the season, I can actually put aside. You don't want to mix up your light sticks through the season. The ones that are dying, which is the battery ones that are dying, and you see that they don't have enough illumination at night, you want to make sure at the end of the night to put those separately from the light sticks that are working. Now, I know that when you're lobster hooping, it's kind of crazy because it's just kind of a yard sale, right? Like there's ropes everywhere, there's nets everywhere. You kind of grab light sticks. A light stick ends up in your lunchbox. A light stick ends up in your son's backpack, and you're looking around Christmas time. You're finding light sticks everywhere. What I like to do though is when I take these light sticks out, I like to get a little compartment like this. You can just get it at Target or Walmart, and in here are all my fresh batteries. Now, even if you go on Amazon, you can buy these batteries in bulk. They're fairly inexpensive. Make sure that before you go out for this season, you go through all your light sticks, guys, all your light sticks, and you make sure they all have fresh batteries. Even if you think you've changed the batteries the year before or the last season, the last day, let's say you're hooping on the last day of lobster season last year, and you tell yourself, man, I changed my batteries, my light stick, I should be good. I would never assume. Let's start fresh from the very beginning. I like to do that when I go into the season. I like to start fresh batteries in my headlamp, fresh batteries in my flashers, fresh batteries in my light sticks, okay? And always make sure you have breakable light sticks as well, just in case you have those failures on the water. All right, guys, let's talk about organization as far as our paperwork's concerned, our pens, things of that nature, our documentation stuff. I always say in my seminars, the most important thing other than a lobster card to have on your boat or your kayak is a pen. So I like to have a waterproof case. Now remember, these waterproof cases is a Plano case with a waterproof seal on it. I highly recommend everyone that's hooping to get something like this and have a slew of pens, okay? Something that keeps dry. Also in here, I have some batteries, extra batteries just in case. Usually I put a marker in here, and also in this, I would put my lobster card. And as you know, I haven't got my lobster card yet because the season hasn't quite started, but I will be purchasing my lobster card. I usually send my lobster card into the Department of Fish and Game at the end of the year. And you also have different choices when you're documenting your lobster card. You can actually input it manually or physically send it in. But usually my lobster card goes in here with all my pens. Now, make sure your pens work, okay? The last thing you want to do is go out onto the water and start to document on your lobster card, and you have 5 pens or 6 pens and none of your pens work. Make sure before you go out hooping this year that all the devices that you use to write with, whether it's a marker for your buoys, whether it's a pen for your lobster card, make sure every single one of those works. Do not assume. Remember, saltwater does crazy things to our gear, our electrical devices, and our pens. So make sure before you go on the water that you have a pen, not just one, but a slew of pens to document those things. Another thing that I like to do is go over all my tackle trays, not just my trays for documenting, but also my accessory trays as far as when it comes to the lobster season. Here is one of my accessory trays. Again, it's a Plano case. I have more quick links. I have weights for the hoop nets made by Lead Masters. If you do want to get a little bit more weight, you can zip ties these to your hoop net. I have motion sickness medicine for maybe I have a client or maybe myself if I ever need it, hopefully not. I have sabikis, but the most important thing I have in here, guys, is my lobster gauges. Now, when you're going over your lobster gauge, we don't want a lobster gauge that's bent, okay? We want to make sure that our lobster gauge is flat, okay? And it's not compromised in any way. A lot of times boaters or even kayakers, they put these things in places they get bound up. I like to tell folks to keep these things in a place where they won't get bent, okay? Bent. So for me, I have a separate case here in this Plano case just for gauges, lobster gauges, okay? You want to make sure that the lobster gauge is not bent and is not compromised in any way. Also, I have here all my sabiki stuff as far as sabikis, or if I want to be quarter ounce glow weights. These are great for catching mackerel just on a small hook. Those are by Lead Masters as well, so get some glow weights from Lead Masters. Cindy at Lead Masters will hook you up. Also, markers. I have an extra marker in here, and breakable light sticks, guys. I always carry breakable light sticks on my kayak or in my boat, just in case all my light sticks malfunction somehow, which has never happened. But I always like to have a game plan for a game plan for a game plan. And these breakable light sticks are perfect to know that I have inside my case just in case something goes wrong. All right, let's talk about bait cages. This is our seal-proof bait cage by Promar Ahi. And again, you can find these on our website at promarahi.com. I have strayed away from the wire bait cages, and to each to their own. Whoever likes to use the wire bait cage, by all means use them. There are situations that I use the wire bait cage. There are some maintenance that are involved in that. They do rust and corrode, and the band that goes around the wire cage needs to be changed out. Usually a new bungee cord will be installed in that bait cage. But for me personally, I like to use a seal bait cage, and I like to use it for several reasons. One, it's more convenient for me as far as stowing my bait away. Now, when it comes to prepping for the season, what I like to do is, yes, the debate is fresh bait better than frozen bait? Yes, it is. A fresh bait is always going to be better, but I always back myself with a frozen bait. And what I mean is that I always bring fresh bait, but I like to stock my freezer with meal prep bait. And when I say meal prep bait, the seal bait cage, I like to put 2 of them in a 1-gallon Ziploc bag. Now, what I like to do is I like to pre-package these either with sardines, mackerel, and keep them frozen. And usually I do maybe some fresh, and I usually bring another set of these with me. If I'm on my kayak, 5 hoop nets is all I can bring. And usually maybe 1 pack of these or 2 packs, another 2 or 4 is going to be plenty for me for the night. If you're on a boat, meal prepping is going to be huge for you, because the more bait you have, the better you're going to be off as far as dropping hoops and changing out bait. Now, what's helped me over the years to not change out bait is the bite-on lobster scent, whether the sprays or the cloths. Now, what I do is when Tony has a great product, by the way, at Bite On. What I do is I put the sardines and I put the mackerel, whatever I'm using, or salmon heads, to each to their own. Again, as far as bait, there's a huge debate about it, and I've done great with all of them. I'm not so much a great fan of salmon heads necessarily. I've caught lots of lobster and salmon heads, and then I have not caught a lot of lobster and salmon heads. So it's kind of a weird thing for me. Catch-22 as far as like bait is concerned. I feel like if you're at the right spot, the right time, the lobster are gonna crawl in your cage. It's almost like I say in my seminars, it's kind of like a slot machine. But what I like to do is I can take one of the bait cloths that Tony provides here at Bite On, and I like to stuff it in the bait cage. And what helps it is when I freeze it, it also freezes this cloth as well. And I even might give it a couple sprays inside, or you can soak some sponges to get more product, more scent on the bait. Now, as you freeze these and put them inside your hoop net, as the night wears on, the bait will thaw out and that scent is going to release into the water. This is going to help you, especially if you're on a time schedule. A lot of you folks, of course, work for a living, and getting out in the water is very difficult. And what you don't want to do is spend all your time making bait or prepping bait or trying to get the freshest bait, because a lot of times it kind of steers people away from the sport of lobster hooping. Now, if you have bait pre-made and it's just grab and go, it makes your life a little bit easier. So that's something that I do prior to the season to get ready. I will definitely package maybe 6 or 7 of these in my freezer, so that on those days that I'm in a rush, I can kind of grab and go. And when I'm on the water, I can make a fresh mackerel. I can do some sardines on the water, but I always want to have a backup, guys. And this 1-gallon Ziploc bag with 2 seal bait cages in it is the perfect way for me to just grab and go. All right, now as we're wrapping up this video, I kind of want to go over gloves and your foul weather gear and things of that nature. Gloves are something that's super important, guys, depending on what gloves you wear. I like personally to use the rubberized gloves. No matter what I do on my kayak, I'm gonna get wet. Some people like to use gloves where they don't feel so wet. On a kayak, it's kind of like the Shamu show. You're gonna get wet. So for me personally, these gloves, they wear out over the years, and when the sun gets to them, they start to get real sticky. And actually, before this video, I actually pulled them apart real sticky. And I knew for a fact that they were, here we go, right here. just like that. These gloves are bad, okay? And a lot of people, they'll still use them, but it's gonna be really uncomfortable for you. Your fingers aren't gonna fit in them. You wanna make sure that when you have a good set of gloves that are gonna be able to grab those lobsters, so you can measure them throughout the night. Make sure this is a fresh pair here of Promar gloves, that the tackiness isn't falling off. They have some consistency to where they're not so stiff, and they're lightly, they feel better on your hands. And actually, when you put them on, you can actually put the glove on and move your hand as so. Also, you want to make sure that your jackets, your water pants, your beanies, and all those things that you wear to keep it protected, your water boots, they actually fit. Okay. Now I say this because I had a pair of boots one year that I would bring lobster hooping, and I realized that the first day that there was a hole in them. And of course, I didn't wear them till lobster season. And when I finally got them on, there was a hole in them. That was a very wet night for me. Also, same with your foul weather gear, whether it's your rain jackets, your water pants. I know some of us are living our best lives, and we're either gaining weight or maybe losing weight. And we want to make sure that gear for the lobster season fits you. Super important, so that when you're on the water, you stay nice and dry. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Like I said, this is just a few things that I do to get ready for the hooping season. Make sure, most importantly, guys, like I said, check your regulations. Every year the regulations change. And for more information, visit me on my website at rocketfishing.com. Also, we have a slew of resources at Promar Ahi on our YouTube channel, guys. I've done a lot of YouTube work with the Promar guys, and we've done some phenomenal things like our Lobster 101 video. We have a kayak video. We have some rigging videos from the rest of the team. We have a great team that does all types of rigging on our YouTube videos. So please visit us on our YouTube channel at Promar Ahi, or visit us at promarahi.com. But until then, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and we'll see you guys in the water. When it comes to lobster hooping, people tend to get a little stressed out, a little overwhelmed, whether I'm doing a website, being on a podcast, wrote an article. Someone's always coming up to me and telling me how stressed out they are and the anxiety they have because they don't feel they have the right gear, the right hoop net, the right bait. There's a lot of gear involved, guys. There's hoop nets, there's floats, there's bait, there's weights, there's techniques, there's all kinds of things, flashlights and headlamps, and all these things that can maybe confuse you. What I have done on my website at rocketfishing.com, that's ROCKIT fishing.com, if you hit shop, it'll take you to a list that I put together, and it's a kayak checklist, and it's $249, guys, $249 for stress-free. You getting on the water, you have the list, the exact same list that I use to go on my boat or on my kayak. That is a list that I put together that I still use to this day to get rid of all that anxiety and all that stress, and I just go along. It's a printable version, it's easy for you, so visit my website and pick up your checklist.